know where there's some. Right here in the hall clerk.
No, Molly, not in there. I have
We have a General Electric plastic, shine is too much, plastic case radio with this beautiful, they call this, this is called a mahogany model, and I really like it. It is a plastic case. By the 50s they were doing plastic, no bakelite. This is obviously a clock radio, has a clock on board. AM only. There's the tuner. Here's the on-off switch and volume. This is a General Electric model radio alarm clock, model 514. And if you look this up in radiomuseum.com, I think it is, or org, the 514 was built 1952 to 1954 in Electronics Park, Syracuse, New York. The tube layout here is really great, except for one thing. The tube, right here, there should be this stamped indicator right here says 50C5, and that's the tube that should have been in here originally. Somebody has scratched that out and put a 50B5 notation in handwriting right there. Now the 50B5 and the 50C5 are functionally the same tube. The layout is different on the 50C5 as required by the underwriter's laboratory at some point in the past, the dim dark past. And the rationale, you can read a lot of rationale for why the underwriter's laboratory mandated that the 50B5 be replaced with the 50C5. It has to do with perceived safety issues. But, not to stray too far down that alley, this indication, handwriting, scratched out something, means something is probably changed in here. Someone has been in this radio. They might have rewired it to accept a 50B5. Who knows how or why? What we'll have to do is find out. One other thing we haven't talked about is this guy right here, and that's obviously the set knob for the clock, which I haven't turned and haven't looked at. So let's see. I'll just reach back here and turn that, see if anything happens up here. Oh yeah. Oh, it's very gummy. Yeah, very gummy. So this clock, I'd bet a lot of money that it won't work right out of the bat, right out of the chute. It won't work because it's so stiff to turn. That means all the oil, all the lubricant that was in this clock in 1952 to 1954 has turned to sludge and gunk and isn't slippery slidey like it was when it was first put in there. So the clock will have to come out and be taken apart and fixed. Now you can take these to clock repair people. They certainly know how to work on an AC clock of this vintage. But I'm, being who I am, I'm going to try to do it myself. If I screw it up too badly, then I'll take it to a clock repair person. But I'm going to try it myself. This one doesn't have a grub screw, so it should just pull off. Oh, very easily, like that. That's one. Now the clock knobs should be the same thing. They are. This one is cracked. Right there is a little crack. I might, after I clean it, I might see if I can work some super glue in there. So hold that together over more time. But again, goes into the ultrasonic cleaner. And this one should pull. Oh, this is one that functionally pulls in and out. This is setting the alarm, I think. Yeah, setting the alarm. But still, once it's out its first step, in, out, then it should pull free like the other one did, and it did. And this one has a couple of hairline cracks, one right there and one right there. You can hardly see them. But I'll do the same thing. I'll clean it and then super glue that. So we have no more knobs poking at the front. And I'll hold it up so that it doesn't fall down. And then I'll just take these screws off the container. And one more. And I'm holding this up as I loosen this screw so that it doesn't fall. Then I'll rotate this whole thing down and then slide, hopefully, the radio out. Oh, see right here, this, is that right? Yes. This is the setting knob for the clock radio, and it's catching right here on this screw. When you remove the chassis from the radio, don't force it. If it's hanging up on something that you want. Some radios are easier to take apart than others. This one is really easy, but there are things like that. If I just horse this out of here, I'd probably break that off, and then I'd be really sorry. So pay attention to stuff like that, and make sure that it's coming out easily and gently. And here's our chassis. Now, this is a clock radio, and this clock runs on AC. So that's why our power cord goes into the clock, because if you think about it, you want the clock on a clock radio to run all the time. So the radio is plugged in, clock runs all the time. You want to turn the radio itself on and off. You don't want the radio running all the time, probably. I don't. So the reason the power cord goes into the clock is the clock needs to run all the time. Power is also connected within the clock over to these two cables right here, and that's where the power goes in to the radio part. Now, I almost did something, and I hope I didn't actually do it, but I almost did something, and I want to warn you about right out of the 20 minutes later, however long I've been gabbing, is I had this sharp edge of this chassis right here up against the speaker. Once speakers are out of the chassis, they are like a magnet. They will get themselves damaged with the slightest provocation. And I did. I damaged the speaker by not paying attention to what I was doing. So here's a perfectly good speaker with a dent right there from this chassis, from right here where I pushed it into there. So I'm sorry about that. I'm sad about that. It was a stupid mistake. However, it didn't go all the way through. We'll put a little, I'll show you how to reinforce this so that it'll be just fine going forward. But the speaker is really delicate. This is paper. This cone is paper that's put in this radio probably before 1952. It's a very common speaker size. And so it's very frail, very dried out, yellow. It was probably black when it was first put in there. But they're very fragile, so don't touch them. And I think this will be a good place to stop because they've been going on for so long. So the next video will continue the disassembly of this. The clock is held, I believe, not sure, but held to the case by these 3 screws right here. So I'll take these 3 screws out. Well, maybe I can do that right now. Okay. 1/4-inch driver. These 3 screws, I believe, are holding the clock in place. We'll find out here in a minute. Meow. It's a cat. That's Molly. What's the window open? Okay, okay. Open the window for the cat. These nuts come out. Oop, drop that one. And finally this. Now what? Window's open. We were gone for a couple of weeks and left Molly with sitters, and she's not too happy with this. Okay, there are the 3 nuts off. I should be able to just pull this free. Oh, okay, the case came free. Trick. See the trick? This case comes off, the clock goes out the front. Okay, all right. Let me spin this all around here. That's fun. I guess that's the right word for it. That's fun. All right. So, we'll leave this right here. We have the radio partially disassembled. We got a surprise. The clock, instead of going out the back, comes out the front. The radio goes out the back. That's okay. We can live with that. So I'll stop here. Next episode, we'll get all this unhooked so that we can set the case aside, and we'll work on the case down the road a ways. But I have to think about how to remove the clock. Is there any chance it would go back through there? Oh, maybe. I'll play with this for a while. Okay, that's it for this episode. I'll play with this, and if I get it to go back that way, I'll let you know how I did it. See you next time. Take care. Be safe.